Let's see how much I can say before I bump into the next person. So let's hit it. This is very congested. It's very heavily populated. There's a lot of people here. And as I was talking about in a recent video, when they see poverty, and usually I'm the guy with the oldest car in the parking lot. Right now I have a dirty old, needs to be washed, 86 Camry. The body's not dinged up. It's just not attractive looking. So I really stand out here, and a lot of people are sensitive to people that are different, and I would say energetically different, and most people don't even know what that means. They just think racially different or different class-wise, but an energy field. And I'm going to stop here because there's people up there. I'm going back home in about an hour and a half, and this helps me recenter and appreciate the fact that I live off the grid, away from towns like this. There's a lot of suffering, have and have not realities, and what I have is a little nook, a little corner of the trees, about an hour from a place like this. Well, a place like this, folks, is a slice of California. People from California came to live at a place like this and pay $3,000 a month, or buy a $1 million home or $2 million home, and to them, that's nature. And to me, there's a lot to see. There's a real lack of humanity in towns like this. And there are towns like this all across America. Whether we're talking about Taos, New Mexico, or whether we're talking about the current situation, people come to places that used to be livable and make them unlivable. And they wonder why there's so many homeless. So, we're coming back on the park here. And what I am is a sponge, so I'll pick up what's going on, the residue, even some of the thinking, and I'll come back looking at it going, not a place I would want to live in. I'm grateful for what I have. It's not even necessarily a place I'd like to work in. One of the things that I'm going to say right out of the gate is that we've had some recent geomagnetic storms, and those are excellent times, in my opinion, for meditation, especially when we're already going through turbulent things. So those are times to do the personal, individual work that we need to do to clear out. I've noticed certain world events and storms, things like Hurricane Florence, manifesting in the news after a rise in solar activity. I want to let you know that there's a lot of people out there throwing opinions on the sun, and there's even a level of groupthink around certain fears regarding certain elements of the solar cycle. So make sure you're using discernment and you're aware when someone's speaking for themselves and using their own material and not speaking in groupthink. So be able to differentiate between the things that I say and my opinions and other things that are out there regarding groupthink. Starting here at this part of the trail before we get to some of the other areas. I mentioned, and maybe people didn't know the depths of what I was getting at, but I can elaborate piece by piece. I mentioned recently that I feel that the current people that are employed in the profession of mental health at times are not even equipped to deal with the most basic of stressors. See, in my book, my personal belief, suicide is a very bad thing for spiritual reasons. We can get trapped in this type of a reality, whether you choose to call that a matrix or something else, whatever you call it, whatever you interpret it to be. And I feel like I have insights into the issue that aren't really represented by most people, including the spiritualist community. So, I'm just going to be addressing this piece by piece, and eventually I'll be writing more. Lately, I've been trying to rest more, unwind more, even watch some more movies over at voodoo.com, VUDU.com. A lot of interesting stuff. Way less demonic and horror focused than Netflix, which is definitely on the darker side of entertainment, in my opinion. So, there's a lot that could be said and should be said about the mental health problem and why people are killing themselves or are hurting. And there really isn't even a recognition as to the root causes. And maybe on a level, people are waking up to the fact that reality shouldn't be as it is. And they're going through certain things. They're going through personal transformations. They're having their own breakdowns before they have the breakthrough. Now, that's just one perspective. Okay, another thing that's going on quite often, as you know, is homelessness. And as it gets rougher to live in your vehicle, do you have to have a PhD or a degree or a master's to figure out that as it becomes harder for people to even park anywhere, they're going to have certain stresses that go along with that. As a prejudice builds within society towards the people that are living in their car, you're going to have more people breaking down going, fuck this shit. And see, anyone that's showing signs of extreme emotion, and some are more emotional than others, to the average person that's in the have category of the have-not reality, they're crazy, they need pills, and they're always recommending affordable housing and Section 8 vouchers. They're not even dealing with some of the root causes of homelessness, classism. So let's talk even deeper about this. In some of these areas, this also includes Southern California, other parts of California, areas in which the rent is grotesquely high, you see such an extreme level of poverty hitting the streets. But you're not seeing a connection. There's still people to this day that believe that if you're homeless, it's because you're mentally ill. And these are like old school ways of viewing the homeless, because there were times in which our economy was better. But ultimately, our economy has gone through boom-bust cycles, and this has affected the amount of homeless people on the street. People that are old enough, baby boomers should be able to tell, right? Periods in which things were not good in the early 80s, and there was an increase in crime, criminal behavior, and it follows those recessions. We haven't really seen a full-blown depression since 29, but we've seen recessions. And really, they've held off the collapse, but when the collapse comes, a lot more people are going to be hurting. And that's why, getting to the point quickly, let's get on with it, my dear Watson. Dr. Ansari sees a suicide epidemic looming upon the horizon and a underprepared mental health field. See, they're not versed with issues regarding some of the things that are happening in the modern world, modern events. That is a very large category, which could be another video. Do we really have to go there? We're all adults here. We can keep walking. But just keep walking. Don't hold up the line. Don't stop the video on that point. Trying to explain why people are being stressed out. I mean, you want to talk about relationships? You want to talk about rent? You want to talk about the war? You want to talk about racism? Doesn't matter what it is. The stressors are there. The boxes are there to kind of put it into a category. And even discussing the things that are causing depression in others raises anger in some that don't want issues brought up because they're locked up emotionally. So a lot of people are locked up emotionally because they've been taught that way, to live that way throughout their lives. Men don't cry. Women cry a lot. Sometimes too much. Yes. And it being seen as normal for Facebook to replace our relationships and our friendships. Yeah, till things get really weird and Facebook renders us invisible and we think our friends aren't interested in talking to us, when the reality is they're not seeing our posts. See, by design, they can create a mental health crisis by destroying our online relationships. You see, boom, easy as hitting make invisible. Hit F2 and 6. Instantly makes a user invisible. They will be talking only to themselves. Continuing on here. So a lot of people, I've talked in some of my more well-known videos, good men leaving mainstream society. Future ramifications for women's safety. A lot of people don't get it. A lot of the young women that are working within healthcare, mental health, and social services don't realize that their job is a form of welfare. That there really is this fallen reality that should be replaced by the evolved reality. In the supposed name of equality in the workplace, there is much discard for the capable male worker. What we really have is a situation of artificial scarcity, where people shouldn't be left out in order for someone else to succeed. The system's broken on more than one way. No one really elevates their own position simply by making more money than the other person or working to jockey themselves to be in a position of getting a chair quickly in a world of musical chairs. So people are constantly working to be on it. And this is what stresses people out in the workplace. The thing is, we need to learn from these things. It doesn't mean that someone's bad for having a job or working hard. It's that we understand that which has caused the illness to begin with, so we can recover. You see, because if we're grading ourselves based on someone else's standard, that's a mental health crisis just waiting to happen, and a physical crisis, and a spiritual crisis, crisis of the soul. Who are these people? Who are these people to be telling us what's healthy and what's not healthy? Some of these people that are therapists are the ones that should be getting therapy. They should be schooled on the things that are happening and why some people are choosing to check out. And so people need to learn how to heal themselves and fix themselves and not look outside themselves. Because I'll tell you what, if people aren't equipped with some of the most basic things to help themselves, I firmly believe they can be harmed by getting advice from the wrong person. Maybe nature is not like that. Nature is not about taking the pill or the right drug to feel all right. If we're not feeling all right with something, maybe we need to ask ourselves, gee, what am I feeling right now? And why am I not feeling so good? Gee, what are these thoughts that are coming in? Could it be consciousness? Maybe it's consciousness that's coming to clear away the programming, right? So I'll tell you what, if there was a solar flare that took out the grid, sure, there'd be a lot of people coming off their drugs. But when the smoke clears, and you know there'd be some smoke, some smoke and some fires, there'd be a sense of clarity. There'd be a sense of clarity. So, those are the thoughts for the time being. One of the things that I've learned from my own pain is that it's me. It's Alex Ansary that's going to fix himself. Now, I may need someone to help me with a car issue here and there, or something else that requires some specialized knowing. I mentioned a brief energy healing from someone I was doing only a few days of temp work for, but it was me that went about the task of seeking someone like him out, or a form of temp work from someone that I knew. Even you heard me put out the affirmation on this channel. I'd like to find some decent work from people that I know. And even though it was a few days, it was a start. How did I meet him? I went to a local church. And he was giving a talk on energy healing, his practice. And I saw him, he posted something looking for people to move some rocks just like that, some really brutal work, and prove myself one day, working a few hours, so I was getting a few days work, a few more days work. And now the rest is going to be done by professionals, right? And so I'm not letting this demonetization adversely affect me, but it is a time, and it is a period in which we're approaching the equinox, and there is an increase in solar activity and emotional energy. We are going into winter. It is an uncertain time. It is a time in which I've had to put more faith in the universe and or myself internally to be able to get through the current challenges and to not succumb to fear, certain types of commonly expressed fears I've commonly expressed on this channel, and instead I'm choosing to be in a place of strength. It's been 2 to 3 weeks since this hat has been left here and someone chose to move it to a more visible spot, I was actually looking for this. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to leave some of my energy behind. And, well, that's what I did. But the squirrels were like, nah, we're good, dude. You can keep your Quicksilver hat. Now it's been refreshed by nature. There we go. Now, when I can find that $300 that I lost 20 years ago. Maybe we might be able to get an interview with the disabled cow. It's gone its own way. It's trying to find its way outside the matrix. It knows that it can't just sit there waiting for help. It has to help itself. Oh, there's another one up there. I don't know if I should be walking up here this way or what, but they got to be probably pretty used to people. You'd think there'd be a sign saying, warning of the, warning, cows. Cows up ahead. The Hopi prophecy warned of the cow roaming the land. So, we've seen one of the hallmark signs of the Hopi prophecy today. And the cows will walk disabled up and down human hiking trails. In the day and age where the country is connected by crisscrosses and black dots,